Okay, so today we're going to read the second section of Love That Dog by Sharon Creech. And we're going to get to hear some other poems that Miss Fitchberry is teaching her class and that Jack is going to be responding to. So, October 17th. What was up with the Snowy Woods poem you read today? Why doesn't the person just keep going if he's got so many miles to go before he sleeps? And why do I have to tell more about the blue car splattered with mud speeding down the road? I don't want to write about that blue car that had miles to go before it slept. So many miles to go in such a hurry. So here's Jack's response. See, he's writing 4 stanzas now as part of his response. So we're going to take a look at this poem that he's referring to. And it's called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. So Robert Frost is a classic American poet. He wrote his poems. I'll have to look up the dates so I can actually tell you. So he's not a recent poet. His poems are older. You can see that this poem that he wrote, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, has how many stanzas? Can you count? You're right, 4 stanzas. And how many lines in each? 4 lines per stanza. So 4 times 4 would give us 16 lines in this poem. So you can see this is a lot longer than the Red Wheelbarrow poem, for example. But it's also going to give you a picture in your head. So use that imagery that he's using. Poets tend to be really specifically descriptive a lot to with, you know, the small amount of words that they often use to really get their point across. And we're going to talk about a few of his techniques here after we're done reading this one. So, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there's some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. These woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Now in this poem, you can see that it's a rhyming poem. There's a rhyme scheme. So when you're looking at the end of the lines in a poem, for example, the first stanza, the last words are know, though, hear, snow. So you assign a letter to the first rhyming sound. So know and those rhymes would stand for be represented by the letter A in a rhyme scheme. So know, though would both be A because they rhyme with each other. The word here doesn't rhyme, so we assign that a new letter B. And then when we look at the 4th line, snow, it rhymes with no and though, so that's an A word again. So the rhyme scheme in that first stanza is A, B, A for know, though, hear, snow. And then when you look at the second stanza, queer, near, lake, year. So you can see it's sticking with that same sort of rhyme scheme. The first 2 lines and the last line of that stanza all rhyme with one another, and it's the 3rd line that has a different sound. So it's again an A, rhyme scheme, but in the course of the poem, you might want to call that one C, D, C, because, oh, wait a minute, I take it back, because here would actually rhyme with queer, near, and year. So that would almost be a B, because we've already heard that rhyming sound. So you're getting the idea that you can represent a rhyme scheme using letters to stand for the sounds. Okay, and you're seeing like a pattern going through. Check the other stanzas and see if you see that same pattern going on there where the first two lines of each stanza and the last one rhyme with one another, and the third one is this is the different sound, or C, if you notice any other different rhyme schemes in any of the stanzas, because sometimes authors might choose to do something like that as well. Okay? So, when you read that poem, you might want to listen to that one again. I want you to think about what questions you have after reading that. And I'll post that one on our Google Classroom as well. And I want you to describe some of the things that you're seeing and wondering about that poem. And I don't want to give too much away about that poem just yet, but once I see what you guys start writing, I'm going to let you in on some secrets about symbolism in poetry, because symbolism is used when authors or poets write about something that often stand or represent something else that's not said, but it's like a symbol that stands for something else. So think about that, even though that's kind of mysterious, as you're reading, and see if you can figure out what I mean. And if not, that's okay. I'll tell you a little bit more about symbolism, and we might see that popping up here and there. It's kind of like, you know how when we were first learning about foreshadowing, that if you don't know about foreshadowing, you might not recognize that it's there. But once you hear more about foreshadowing, then you can hear or read another book or story and say, oh, I think I just noticed some foreshadowing. I know that even the other day, Natalie and I think we're watching a movie, and she, or a song, and she recognized some foreshadowing in there. So writers can use these techniques in all different ways. Okay, so let's go back to what Jack has been writing about. So what he had said on that poem, that on his response about that poem, was October 17th. What was up with the Snowy Woods poem you read today? And why doesn't the person just keep going if he's got so many miles to go before he sleeps? And why do I have to tell more about the blue car splattered with mud speeding down the road? I don't want to write about that blue car that had miles to go before it slept. So many miles to go in such a hurry. And then on October 24th, Jack wrote, I am sorry to say, I did not really understand the Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright poem, but at least it sounded good in my ears. Here is the blue car with tiger sounds. Blue car, shining bright in the darkness of the night. Who could see you speeding by like a comet in the sky? I could see you in the night. Blue car, shining bright. I could see you speeding by like a comet in the sky. Some of the tiger sounds are still in my ears, like drums, beat, beat, beating. So you might recognize, even though we haven't read the Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright poem yet, we're going to read that right now, you might recognize some techniques that Jack was just using in his writing. So think for a second, did you notice any techniques in there that you've heard us talk about before? Did you maybe notice some repetition for parts like beat, beat, beating? Or did you notice any alliteration when we were reading parts, even like tiger, tiger, burning bright, with those repeating sounds at the beginning, those consonant sounds at the beginning of some of the words? So those are some of the techniques we've talked about before and that you'll be using in some of your poems too. So this poem that he's referring to, The Tiger by William Blake, they're only sharing here with us the first stanza of this poem. That's what that asterisk means at the bottom. It says first stanza. So this is the longer poem, but they're only sharing this first stanza with us here. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? So I like how they made the word symmetry rhyme with I just by having you pronounce it in a slightly different way. Sometimes you're going to see in poems, authors, the poets, they can change words a little bit. Sometimes they even invent words of their own that go along with their rhyme scheme. So, but can you see how he's saying there that it just it sounded good to his ears, is what Jack said. So listen to that again. And also, I want you to kind of see if you can find a rhythm or a cadence in this poem. And that's an important part of poetry as well. Not all poems have that rhythm, but some poems do. So listen again. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? So you can really hear that beat, like you might hear that rhythm that you hear in songs. You can see how it goes along with poems even without the music. October 31st. Yes, you can put the 2 blue car poems on the board, but only if you don't put my name on them. So it sounds like Mrs. Stretchberry wants to publish some of Jack's poems. So we might be able to publish some of your poems that you guys write too. Not on our board, but on our virtual bulletin board here on Google Classroom. November 6th. They look nice typed up like that on blue paper on a yellow board. But still don't tell anyone who wrote them, okay? And what does anonymous mean? Is it good? So Jack's feeling a little bit proud of his poems now, even though he wants to remain anonymous. We know what anonymous means, right? What does anonymous mean? Think of a definition. And if you're not sure, ask a grown-up, but I'm pretty sure you guys know. November 9th. I don't have any pets, so I can't write about one. And especially, I can't write a poem about one. Infer something there. What are you thinking with Jack's response at Miss Stretchberry's suggestion to write a poem about a pet? That might be a good thing to write about on our Google Classroom. Why do you think Jack had that kind of reaction to her suggestion to write a poem about a pet? November 15th. Yes, I used to have a pet. I don't want to write about it. You're going to ask me, why not? Right? No, I like how even with so few words in both of these poems, we can really hear Jack's voice coming through. We can really understand maybe some of his personality and some of his feelings at this point in time. And so that's a really important thing when you're writing. If you're thinking about trying to convey the character's perspective and feelings and who they really are, that's called voice. And so I think that Sharon Creech, the author of Love That Dog, is doing a really great job here of letting us really hear and understand Jack's voice. Okay. So here's another. November 22nd. Pretend I still have that pet? Can't I make up a pet, a different one, like a tiger or a hamster, a goldfish, turtle, snail, worm, flea? I like that idea there too. Now, I'm going to stop there because in a minute, Jack is going to start referring to some other poems that Miss Stretchberry read to them. And so I don't really want to get too much further along because we don't have much time left on this video for me to read those other poems to you. So I'll come back to that one in the next video. And for now, I maybe want you to think of that idea that if you were going to write a poem about a pet or a pet that you wish you had, because I know that like Tanner the other day told us that he wishes he had a pet for his gift to help him get through this time out of school. So maybe some of you don't have pets and that's okay too. So you could write about either pets that you used to have, pets that you wished you have. So we'll kind of keep that idea in our head, and maybe some of you might want to try to write a poem about a pet that you do have or that you used to have or that you wish that you could have. Okay. All right. So look on our Google Classroom. Please write some responses to this video so that we can all learn from each other and so that I can know that you're participating, and then check out the next section. All right, hope you're liking this book so far. Miss you guys. Bye.